another episode of Wellness with EAC. Today's episode, we're focused on career wellness and what that means and how you can achieve it. My name is Nicole Guanzura, and I have the distinct honor of being your host. I am a mama, I am a wife, I am also an early career development strategist, and so passionate about women's ministry. And in today's conversation, we're going to go through what the various components are of career wellness and what it means. And we're also going to chat about the journey to get to the career that you desire and how you achieve that, whether the role is a means to an end or you are in a certain career trajectory and you're on a very specific path. How do you thrive in whatever environment that you are in and what wellness means in that perspective? I am so excited to have you back on Wellness with EAC. This is the podcast where we are talking and intermingling our faith journeys and career wellness and talking about how that's affected our personal and professional growth. So let's get into it. What does career wellness mean to you? You likely have heard of the term career readiness. You have likely heard about job readiness, workplace readiness, and along the lines of what that means, right? And then now you're thinking, another term? What do you mean career wellness, right? Is this also this falsehood? Is this workplace toxicity? You just want me to be really happy and the space I'm in? What does that actually mean? And I want us to dive deep into that. When I talk about career wellness, I'm specifically focusing on no matter what job or career space you are in, how can you make the most out of that season? How can you make sure that while you're honoring workplace etiquette and self-advocacy, how are you also making sure you're taking advantage of all the opportunities that are there for you while also growing personally and professionally and preparing yourself, whether it's for that promotion or you're preparing for yourself for the next role? Because as we know, careers no longer have a clear trajectory or path, right? I think about the number of folks that start off in college, have a certain degree, and then the percentage of folks that actually go on and study that exact thing or work in that exact environment is so, so low because people continue to develop skills. A lot of those transferable skills from their degrees, the things they've learned, then they go on to pursue either related careers or something that is along the lines of their skill sets, of their passions. And we'll do a whole episode on transferable skills. But today I want us to focus on, while you're in the role you're in right now, how do you balance and how do you find wellness, right? And balance can be a bit of a taboo word, right? So I want us to really think about career wellness as setting boundaries in and outside of the job. Let's start with career wellness inside the job. So when you're inside the job, depending on the environment, I'll take, say, a corporate environment. More than likely, depending on how large the organization is, they're going to have certain resources for you. When you onboard and you start the job, there's things that are going to be available to you. One of those things being EAP services or employee assistance program. And in that employee assistance program, they have vendors that they work with specifically that will help you, whether you need mental health resources, want to see a therapist, want to get some counseling services, either for you and your partner, you're going through some things in life, just want to talk with a third party about what's going on with you and what your plans are for the future. They have those services, and oftentimes, depending on your insurance plan, they even allow you a certain amount, sometimes 8, sometimes all the way up to 10 free sessions with a therapist that you can have and figure out, well, is this something I really like to do? Is this something that's really helping me thrive? Is this something that I want to continue? So that's just one service, right? And then others will also help you. They have a network of attorneys that you can talk to within that trusted network. They also have resources that will help you with financial planning. And all of those components are really, really important to your wellness journey because, one, let's talk about three main components of career wellness: mental well being, we talk about professional development, as well as financial literacy or sometimes financial awareness, right? Depending on what stage of life you're in or your background. If you're listening and this is your first job, then you're trying to still figure out how to balance that. Or you're coming into a second or third career shift, and you're trying to figure out, well, I want to be able to earn more. I want to be able to balance that. If I take that next job, what does that compensation package actually mean to me? How do I figure that out? How do I get that support to ensure that it's just not that number that looks like this big shining star? It's also, it's my take home salary, yes, but what does this compensation package also include? Those are really important components as well when we talk about financial literacy. When you look about investments, are you going to be able to invest in a 401k towards retirement, or an IRA, or if you work for a nonprofit, sometimes it might be a different type of account, but there's still a retirement account you can contribute to. Is your company matching your contribution? And if they are, what percentage? Because I want to know, are they going to match it exactly? So if I put $200, are they going to match it and put $200 as well? Are they going to put $100? Are they going to put $50? What does that look like as I am contributing towards my retirement, because I want to be able to get to a retirement. So those are all the things that are, not all, but a number of things that are involved when it comes to making money decisions, when it comes to looking at your financial awareness and literacy. And I'm going to have some experts come onto the podcast to dive even deeper in future episodes. So stay tuned on exactly how that works. But these are some of the things I want you to be aware of, and I want you to know that there are resources that are available to you for you to be able to have those conversations. Before you even get into the job and after you get into the job, how do you make sure that you're maximizing all the accounts you want to be able to contribute to depending on your stage in life? So that's a little bit about financial literacy and financial awareness. And then also even something as, now I say something as simple, but then back when I was accepting my first job, I didn't know that there were certain websites I could go to and look at what that number on my offer page was, and what that looks like after taxes, realistically, before I sign a lease, before I sign and commit myself to a certain role, to a certain job, to a certain city. What does that look like? Relocation costs. These are all things we're factoring in. And let me tell you, for this first gen immigrant, these are things that I was learning as I was going. These are things I'm continuing to learn and now share as I gain the knowledge. So that's just that component. And then when we think about mental well-being, I shared some of those resources through EAP, or the company might have different different solutions or different partners that they work with. And if not, where could you tap into certain resources as well that are free or low cost? Or if you find yourself in a crisis and the job has just got you over the edge, what does that look like, right? What are the resources you have? Who can you call? Who can you have a conversation with? That is part of your mental well-being. Because honestly, my real and true belief is that at the end of the day, if you are not okay, then nothing else about your job or about your career, about anything else that is going on, is going to matter, right? You need to be okay. You need to have some sort of boundary, some sort of balance in order to function as best as possible and operate as best as possible to at work, to serve your clients, to serve your team, to be able to have that. But it's not always the reality that we live in. We just went through a lot as an entire nation. The entire world just went through a lot and still recovering from the back end of that. And either your organization shifted with you and helped you and gave you extra resources that you needed, or business was as usual and you just had to figure that out. So these are the things I want you to be aware of, that one, you're not alone in these conversations. And two, there are resources for you that you need to go look into at work and advocate for those things that are in your benefit package. Use them. Absolutely use them. Or if you don't have them, we'll link some resources in the show notes that are free and low cost, from just our research that we've been able to share, and resources that we think would be very helpful to you on your journey, whether you're a college student or you are an early career professional. Now, the third component is professional development when we're thinking about wellness, because now we are in the space. Think of a circle, right? And we have covered one third of it with financial literacy and awareness. We've covered another third with mental well-being, and then now the third piece of the pie essentially is going to be a professional development. Sometimes organizations will have some extra funding that will allow you to continue to develop as a professional. But let's be real, it doesn't always mean that it's enough to pay for a whole degree. It's enough, to help you go to all those conferences you have on your bucket list. Some of it might be give and take. But learning about what resources do you have, what kind of funding is supported along those lines, what kind of online resources do you have, in-person resources? I remember an organization that I worked for, and they would send us on certain career development conferences. And that was a great way to network, learn about what's going on in our industry, and they would pay for that. But then there were some other conferences that I wanted to go to, and I would pay out of pocket for those, or find out if there was a way I could negotiate it into my responsibilities to even get part of that funding reimbursed. So that's a part of self-advocacy when it comes to your wellness. Even if it's not spelled out, sometimes you need to ask for what you want. You need to present your case. How could this benefit not only you, but your work and your company at the end of the day? And see if there's a way that there could be a split of costs, because organizations have various budgets and it's completely understandable. So when we're thinking about professional development, that is an immediate way. I encourage you to look at how you are going to develop professionally, and say maybe there's only a few $1,000s or a few $100s in the budget. Look at your local community college. Look at a local organization and see, is there a way you could get a certification? Right? A certification that can allow you to continue to support your professional endeavors, help you learn a new skill, and it fits in the budget that the company has allotted. So that is something to I highly encourage you to consider. I think about my local community college. They have so many certification programs that are very reasonably priced, that even some larger organizations will partner with them or will send their employees there for them to get their certifications to continue to develop. So while you're there at that company, why not go ahead and get those certifications? Why not go ahead and develop your skill set, prepare yourself for that next promotion, for that, for that next career opportunity. And I want you to keep in mind that none of this I'm saying is going to be easy or is always going to be a walk in the park. Sometimes it means you're studying for that certification exam after hours because work was just hectic. You just went through a busy season. Life is lifing. I have small kids. I get it. It's always a balance. Or even if you don't have kids, you're not in that stage of life, it doesn't mean that you have all the extra time to, do all the extra things. You have life outside of work. But when you're thinking about balancing your career and your wellness journey, I want you to think of those three components. When you think about how can you live your best life essentially, when you are in your current job or looking for your next job, what does that balance look like in terms of the finances? What does it look like in terms of supporting your mental health? And what does that look like for your professional development? Until you finally get to that point in which you're ready to retire or you hit the lotto, right? Lucky you hit the lotto, and there's nothing more for you to do at that point besides just enjoy and live your best life. But while you're there, I want you to encourage you to look up from the day-to-day responsibilities all the time. Set boundaries with folks who always insist on, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And they're making their priorities your emergency, right? But you've got certain responsibilities. You've got boundaries of a time schedule that you work on. You've got things that, yes, sometimes it has to be done. You have to stay after hours, but it's not a regular thing, because then all you're doing is spending your time focusing on the job. And when you look up, I always think it's a little morbid, but I always think about, on the day you transition out of this life, what are they going to write on your gravestone? Are they going to write that you worked 80 hours every single week? That you worked every last back-breaking hour? Or they're going to talk about how much you were loved, what you contributed to your family, your community, your friends, your children, your partner, your loved ones. That is what I've always seen in an obituary. Never anything that is specifically talking about the amount of hours you worked. And let's be real, if your job, layoffs are a thing right now, and have been for a while, or say you get sick and you fall away from the job, they will replace you. They're happy to replace you. They may be sad when you go, but they're going to replace you in 2 weeks. But you know what can't be replaced? Your life. You know what can't be replaced? Your well-being. None of that can be replaced. So I want to encourage you to seek opportunities, not just for the dollar, but also looking at how do you balance that? Because you can work and say, well, I need to just work really, really, really hard in this job and work 100 hours a week so I can get to that next step. And then you get to that next step, and for 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, you're really, really satisfied with the paycheck. Then all of a sudden you realize your lifestyle has shifted, and all of a sudden you don't want that. Money is no longer enough. That thing is no longer enough, because oftentimes contentment is really what we should be seeking. We want to pursue careers. Don't get me wrong. When I think about the amount of money, the millions of dollars women lose over the lifetime of their careers from not negotiating or not getting jobs that are worth their value, and not always on them, right? We need to pursue things that are going to help our careers level up and move up, but not at the sacrifice of our health, not at the sacrifice of things that we cannot replace. Because tomorrow is not guaranteed, friends. Tomorrow is not guaranteed at all. So if you're working extremely hard today in this space, and then tomorrow something happens to you or someone you really love, are you going to look back and say, I still would have worked 100 hours? For some folks, it might be yes. I would have still worked those 100 hours. Then, it is what it is. But for many of us, it's, oh, wow, I really appreciate the time I was able to take, the boundaries I was able to set with my boss and say, hey, this is the thing I need to do right now, or this is something that I need to work on right now. So therefore, I cannot commit this time. Or can we look at, are you okay with shifting A to B or C to D? Or as we're working on this project, here's the timeline that we're looking at. Can we work on X, Y, and Z? That'll be another episode on setting boundaries. But these are the things I just want to encourage you with today. Just thinking about, what does career wellness mean to you? What does it mean to find some sort of balance, despite how hard it is, right? You could be working in an hourly job and you're dependent on those hours. You could be working in a career, in a salaried role. And there are all of these expectations. But at the end of the day, I want to encourage you, friend, that your life is always going to be more valuable. Your life is going to matter so much more. So it's important that you do your job and you do it well. However, boundaries are important when it comes to your wellness. And I want to know your story, right? What does that look like for you? Is career wellness a part of how you look at your day-to-day job? Have you ever had to advocate for yourself? And what did that conversation look like? I've done it before. I've advocated and tried to negotiate salaries, and it's been rejected. I've tried to follow some of these things, and it's been rejected. But I had to shift. I had to shift from there and then make a choice. Am I going to stay here? And if I am, how am I going to balance things out from here? If it's not going to be as compensated, how do I shift in the way that I'm doing my work so I still deliver on my commitment? However, there's certain things that I need to pull back on if they're not going to meet me to at a certain place. So what has that looked like for you? How has it really worked for you when it comes to career wellness? What area are you still trying to focus on? Talk to us about it. Share it in the comments. And is there a specific topic you want us to dive deeper in? I mentioned we're going to bring some financial literacy pros. We're going to be talking about some boundaries in future episodes. But what else do you want to know about when it comes to this topic? Share in the notes below. I really appreciate you tuning into this episode today. I am so glad and honored that you would allow me into your ears. And if you're seeing this on video, face to face, for us to connect. Again, my name is Nicole Guansura. I'm so, so glad you are here, and keep well until the next time here on Wellness with EAC.